And good morning, everybody. This is Adam Gordon and my colleague,
Cohen.
Fred Cohen, and we are OSG, Oya Security Growth, and we help grow cybersecurity companies.
And it's a Sunday, a rare recording on Sunday. We usually record on Thursday. So why is this week different from every other week?
Well, that's actually a very Jewish question. But in this case, it turns out to be a technology question because this week was RSA.
RSA, you mean the Ravis Shamir Edelman? Well, it's no longer them, but the RSA conference in San Francisco. Well, that was on Wednesday we were there.
That was on Wednesday.
Yeah, then on Friday I had meetings with Keiretsu Forum.
As did I.
Right, that's right. We were both there, and then you were on Thursday up in wine country.
Up in Healdsburg, actually.
Right, trying to help one of our companies grow.
Yeah, and that was a really amazing show. It's sometimes the founder of a company has happy ears on, and they report back what they have found in the marketplace. And then you go out, and sometimes you find that it's sometimes true. And in this case, it happened that the founder actually underreported the interest in the product, and there was a lot of people fabulously interested. It was a very fun show.
Excellent, but we're not going to talk about that because that's not Oya Security Growth, but are we going to talk about RSA?
We are. As a matter of fact, I have pulled up some of the companies that we were most interested in, which were the early stage companies, and I just wanted to take a look at them and see what we thought about, what our thoughts were maybe on helping them get from the early stage to a slightly later stage.
Well, hang on. I don't want to help them without them paying me. Are we going to just help them for free here?
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, what a deal. Okay. Hey.
What a deal. So if any of them get this recording, it's going to be very valuable to you.
Well, so, at least a little bit valuable.
A little bit valuable. Yeah. So let me find where they go. These should be them. I like this one. So I'm going to refresh this page because I think the animation is really cool. Hold on a second.
All right, going beyond prioritization, remediating vulnerabilities at scale. Okay. PacMan.
And I just thought this was great. This was just really fun. This may be just
hang on, Adam, is this not a problem?
Why?
Wasn't PacMan, intellectual property of whatever the corporation was that created PacMan? I mean, it's the copyright certainly hasn't run.
Well, how long are copyrights? 50 years?
No, it's 99 years past the death of the authors. No, it's not just 99 years from copyright.
In that case, these guys might be in trouble. maybe.
Well, they're probably not in trouble because they probably won't get sued over this, but nevertheless, it's just one of those things that it's probably not very expensive to get their permission to use it. They might do it for free, so you should check. But so I've been dealing with the legal aspects of cybersecurity lately, and so I have, my ear, brain, eyes, and everything else are tuned to the legal issues. So I just thought I'd mention it. But okay, so it's pretty obvious, right? We go eat the bad guys, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yep, well, there you go. Although, wait, scrolling back up, those guys, that one on the right looks kind of nice. They don't look that bad.
This here, you mean?
No, scroll up to the top.
Yeah.
Just saying, keep going. See that guy with a nice light blue? That doesn't look like a bad guy.
No, it doesn't. And, one of the things I like about this is that there's several, first of all, it's engaging, and I thought this was cool. But
yeah, I think so
much that it, it's going to really slow down on a mobile device because this only runs once. The other things that I liked about this were that up here, when you look at the main nav, there's a request to demo, and down here, there's a request to consultation. These guys aren't fear-based. They're not making huge claims. They're talking about what they do, and I thought that was a great marketing model. I also love the name.
What's the name? Vulcan.
Vulcan.
I don't know. Again, they're leveraging, but I do like the fact that they have these call to action buttons, so there's something you can do.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like somebody was doing marketing here.
It does. Yes, it does. That was my thought as well.
Yeah. I'm not really clear about going on beyond prioritization, but all right, let's go to Jetpatch. Oh, the Jetpatch is a great name. They're going to patch things quickly, right?
Right, exactly. That's exactly what they do. They
Yeah.
automate patch management, which you can tell in the first 3 seconds on the screen.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Yeah, good job.
So, you know, when we've been looking at larger companies that do bigger kinds of cybersecurity things versus these kinds of companies that do smaller kinds of cybersecurity things, it seems like the trend is as you get bigger, your messaging gets worse and worse.
Well, no, there are plenty of small fry that have, you know, bad messaging too.
That's true, but I don't see a lot of big fry that have very good messaging. Most of the big fry we've seen make huge claims and are totally based on fear and are all of the things that we think are wrong with the marketing in cybersecurity.
No, I don't think that's really the case. But I think there's a different customer base for the small companies than the big companies, and for each company obviously has its own customer base that it's trying to approach. So for example, I don't think IBM is ridiculous in their sites.
No.
I don't think Microsoft is, well, I have many thoughts about Microsoft. but
well, let's put it this way, a lot of the sites that we've seen from larger companies, and not necessarily Microsoft and Cisco, you know, they're the top tier, but that middle tier, they seem, as they grow, their messaging seems to get muddled. And I think that might be because they take on more stuff and really don't have a solid narrative to actually bring it all into.
Well, I'm not ready to diagnose, but I do know of several things that cause this to happen, right? Mm-hmm. One of them is people that are opportunistic, companies that are opportunistic can't get a consistent message because they're always chasing something, and, right. And they're not, you know, they haven't thought through, strategically defined and identified where they're going. This is the same for many, many startups. You hear lots of presentations where they say, I'm going to boil the ocean, right?
Yep.
What we really want is a laser that's going to cut a little hole right there in that part of the market and suck a bunch of money out of it. And so, you know, the diffusion of message often has to do with the diffusion of the strategy and understanding and vision of the company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things that we see. So that's like a symptom of that kind of problem.
It's kind of like I was in a class at college one time, and the teacher walked by the guy next to me, and he saw his textbook was open, and the entire page was highlighted. And he looked at the kid and said, if you highlight everything, you highlight nothing. And I think that applies to a lot of the kinds of messaging that we're talking about. They try and highlight everything, so they actually highlight nothing.
Is this an apocryphal tale, or did this actually happen to you?
This happened to me.
Wow. Because it sounded like an apocryphal tale. But in any case, so
neither apocryphal nor apocalyptic.
Another reason that this happens is that companies, you know, stop focus on marketing, right?
Yeah.
They especially when they're accelerating, you know, all of a sudden they're getting a whole bunch of business and they're not paying attention to the marketing as much as they're paying attention to the execution. And another one is if they get in trouble, or they, you know, the question is, where do you stop spending money? And they foolishly stop spending money on the wrong thing, right? So if you have something that works, then and you are running out of money, then sales and marketing is the place to go, not improving the technology.
Right.
you might get some, if it did this, I'd buy it if I do that. But you're always chasing this, and it's really, in many cases, an excuse not to buy something you don't want to buy and to get the salesman to stop talking to you, mm-hmm. rather than a reality of, I would buy that only if, you know.
Right.
And so I hear a lot of that sort of, you know, thing from people, and so those are sort of the most common reasons I think that you get those mismatches. It's not. There's one other, and that is companies that are run by and you know, being an electrical engineer and running companies run by engineers and scientists.
Yes, that's very
They suck at marketing like I suck at marketing.
Well, it's because engineers and scientists, I find as I work with them, they tend to want to tell the entire story at one time. And
that's one problem.
That's one problem.
Yeah, the other problem. Yeah. So, by the way, just so everybody else knows, Adam and I had this in-depth discussion right, just recently. So So what was the other problem with the engineering types?
Well, they want to tell the whole story up front,
That was
and
the first one.
you had the other one.
Oh, you
Oh,
don't remember. It's about being picky,
right.
right? So there's two aspects. One of them is they're always looking for the rational rather than the irrational.
Hmm.
So in messaging, and Adam understands how to message in the irrational space and how far to push people and such, and I don't. I mean, I'm not completely ignorant of it, but I always want to say something rational like, 75% of these do that, right?
Right.
And Adam wants to say something like, it feels good when you do this. and,
Well, it's not quite that extreme,
turns
but
out,
it's the right direction.
making people feel good is probably the better move.
Probably.
So there's that problem, and then there's another problem, and that is, so one of my pet peeves is saying anything that's not explicitly, specifically true, right? So my general approach to communication is, if it's strictly true, right? If every word you say and the sequence that it's in is truthful, you can say it. Now, you might not want to say it, but that's as soon as you vary from that, as soon as you give a little bit of a misimpression, I'm going to push back on you.
Mm-hmm.
And so marketing people, and I don't think it's malicious. I think it's that they don't see the difference between what they're saying and what the scientist or engineer hears from them when they say that.
Right.
And so one of the reasons scientists and engineers always want to tell the whole story is because they're afraid that by not including something, that they're misleading.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And I'm like the most guilty of all time in that.
And in fact, they're more guilty of that by telling the whole story at once than they would be if they did it in a narrative, because nobody gets the whole story at once. And nobody, more importantly, nobody will get the relationships between the bits without the narrative that ties them together.
And that's right. And there's another aspect of this that I also encountered in the last week. Naturally, every week, I learn more about how bad I am. So
I think they call that wisdom.
Well, I think it's called. So I write an article every month on mistakes I've made, and it seems like I'm not running out. Same problem. But in this particular case, it's the information density.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a tendency to want to convey enormous amounts of information and pack it really densely and go boom, 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 as if you're going to hear and understand everything I said, put it into your brain, understand it as well as I understand it in real time, and be overjoyed and happy. Oh, got it. I understand it. And not only that, when people try to present things to me in the slow walk, I'm like, thank you. Can you speed it up, please? Mm-hmm. I really don't want to hear you tell me about the 5 different people and the details of the experiments. Can you just tell me what the outcome is instead of telling me long stories? And so that difference. So what the problem here is that the efficiency becomes overwhelming. You get information overload in the recipient, and they can't understand it.
Right.
And they don't remember it, and they don't get a clear picture in their mind. They're busy chasing what you're saying, chasing what you're presenting, instead of getting a meme in, processing it, thinking about it, fusing it into their mindset, and then moving on to the next thing.
Right. Right.
So stop targeted email attacks. Hey, I think I know what they say they're doing.
Yeah. See, like I said, these early stage companies, because they're so focused, they can have really focused messaging.
Well, yeah, I want to say that. So messaging, yes, this is very nice, wonderful messaging. It's not actually true that that's what they do.
Okay, say more about that.
Well, so when you go and ask them, well, how exactly do you stop targeted email attacks? They say, well, we do this and this and this. And when you go through that list of things is not adequate to actually stop targeted email attacks.
Okay.
They may stop some targeted email attacks. They stop other things. They get false positives. So now they're stopping things you really don't want to stop, right? And it may not be attacks, right? It might be they're stopping targeted email, but they're not attacks. It's just marketing, right? So, and so forth, right? So this is a question of the marketing and the technology not necessarily matching each other. That's not to say that this is bad marketing. I mean, this might be the objective of abnormal security.
Yes.
But I suspect that
it's lacking the actual truth on the ground.
It's not that. So we talk about the vision of a company.
Yes.
Right? What's your vision? Our vision is to stop targeted email attacks. That sounds like a great line. I'll put it right on the top of your page, right?
Mm-hmm. So
that's your vision. But the reality doesn't meet the vision. But on the other hand, it's not bad messaging. It is what they're trying to say.
Right.
It's just that they'll disappoint.
So you think more authentic would be something along the lines of reduce targeted messaging email attack?
No. This is a case where if this is what they're trying to do, there's really no better way to say it that I can come up with right off, right? I mean, it's short and sweet and to the point.
Sure.
And somebody who's sophisticated in cybersecurity looking at this is going to say, okay, I know what they're talking about. I know they don't stop them all. I know that they can't really tell attacks from not attacks in all cases. And what does targeted mean? But I get what they're telling me. If I want to stop, some of these phishing attacks or spear phishing attacks or whatever they're calling it these days, these things where people are, sending an email as if it was from the CFO to get you to transfer money or something. If I want to stop those, these guys might have a solution. So it is a good opener for a sale.
Yes, and I suspect that these guys are targeting are not your level of sophistication of cybersecurity people. They're people who have just gotten Office 365 and go, oh, I need some security, and they buy these guys.
Well, so I don't know what their target market is.
Yeah.
I know it's not the normal security market because their name is abnormal security. I mean, I suspect based on the name that they do anomaly detection of some sort.
Okay. So any other takeaways from RSA for you, Fred?
Oh yeah, there's nothing new, but we know that from a long time.
Right.
It was way less crowded than usual. I suspect that relates to fear over coronavirus. It was a lot of people I talked to that have been there for many years, they don't go for the whole thing. The talks are almost boring. Mm-hmm. They do a bad job of selecting good presenters and good talks. Mm. And then instead of having more and more interesting people talk about a wider diversity of things, they're trying to be too selective. But there's a question of whether, sort of the end of the big conference is on its way, mm-hmm. Right? So there are different people come to the RSA for different purposes. I come to see old friends, meet new companies, seize opportunities, and share things with folks like you. But most companies are there to try to sell things to customers. And you see a larger ratio of companies to customers than you used to find. Mm-hmm. And then the people walking around, a lot of them are there because they can get their entire continuing professional education requirement fulfilled at one conference. So they come to San Francisco for a week, they attend, their 5 or 6, however many sessions that fills their CPE requirements. They go visit some friends and they go see San Francisco.
Right.
So it's not as us buying an audience for those sales. And I'm going to contrast it to the smaller sort of conference, the more intimate sort of conference that you saw at Burton Group and you now see at Tech Vision Research, which is an evolution from Burton Group, mm-hmm. Where what you have is true expertise in a relatively small number of plenary sessions, walking through a story that has a sense behind it, mm-hmm. and the audience and it's intimate. 100, 200, maybe 300 or 400 people from different enterprises that are decision makers, along with top level, high quality analysts and interactions that are really informative about what's going on, how you address them. It's not like product. Mm-hmm. It's like knowledge. Mm-hmm. And the product companies that are there that are hosting the suites, that's sort of the evening. Instead of having dinner, you have the suites where people go to dinner and learn about products and then get introduced and such. So it's just I suspect that those smaller conferences are better processes for getting, more intimate with potential buyers and making that work. So it's all about the go-to-market strategy, right?
And in fact, what you said was exactly reflected in the wine event that I went to the next day, which was a few hundred people. And there was a lot more that got done at that show than I probably was done at RSA, just in terms of the value of the exchanges.
Yeah. So, part of the problem is person-to-person sales, which is what, happens at conferences. I mean, it's person-to-person, right?
Right.
And it's also person-to-group. But when so I gave some talks at RSA long ago. You're in front of a room of 250 people or 500, however many people. Even if 20 come up at the end and shake your hand and say hello, you're just not going to get substantial business out of it. And you won't get much time with those people because they're rushing off to the next thing. Mm-hmm. So for person-to-person, sales and marketing, it sort of doesn't work. Now, what does work and is relatively successful is the big booths, the people that can handle, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people walking by and asking questions. So we got some nice meetings.
Yeah.
We met some really useful people there that might turn into very positive business. And by the way, Cognitive Security XTN, right? Mm-hmm. Guido, CTO, that's the guy that we met there. Right. but the more interesting one was the business development guy from was it the Netherlands?
Yes.
Yeah. And so now it's a unique opportunity to meet sort of the national representatives from Europe and Asia and wherever, and find out if there's something in common that might make a match. And you get 5 or 10 minutes with them, and that's enough to get a card and say, okay, let's talk. And if you get in touch with them next week, you can do the follow-ons. I used to, when I was an analyst, I'd go to RSA and we'd schedule interview after interview after interview. It was crazy. So now, if somebody wants to have, and as an analyst or a member of the press, all the companies are told your name and contact information, and their press agents send you press releases and ask for a meeting so that you can talk to them. So hopefully you write a story that helps them. Mm-hmm. So what I have done for now several years is just tell them, if I get it like 2 weeks before, I say, how about if we schedule a half-hour phone call next week before the RSA? And if I want to meet you while I'm there after that phone call, we can do that. And then for the ones that come, late in the last week, I say, how about if we schedule one for the week after RSA? It's just a much more effective and efficient way of getting in touch with them. And then the other thing is, with the spread of coronavirus, but influenza also kills a lot of people every year. Yeah. Going to conferences like the RSA conference, basically, if you're there for 2 days, you're there like from early in the morning until late at night, because after the actual show, there's then, hospitality suites and meetings with people and dinners and all sorts of things that run you till, midnight.
Right.
And then you're back up in the morning, trying to get everything done from what you talked about yesterday. So by the time you're there for 2 or 3 days, you're just completely exhausted. And you've now shaken hands with and met with, hundreds and hundreds of people, and you're going to get sick, almost surely. So I don't, that's another problem with a big, intense conference thing. So yeah. I think smaller conferences, the more intimate ones are better for sales and marketing.
Do you think smaller conferences are the way of the future and maybe virtual conferences? Or is that too remote still?
So we have virtual. Look, I run a whole bunch of virtual stuff, right?
That's true.
And so I think live online remote is a way better to do lots of things than in person. However, if you're trying to close sales and form relationships, in-person meetings in a professional setting with the possibility of a meal or something like that are just better ways to get that relationship built. But now, again, it's a different kind of sale, right? So if I'm trying to sell my anti-phishing solution to small and medium businesses, the value of the sale might be a couple $100 a year, right?
Right.
And so I need 1,000 of them for a couple 100,000 a year. There's just no way I can meet, shake hands, get intimate with, have conversations with, and form a relationship with each one of them. It just isn't going to work.
Right.
But if I'm doing an enterprise sale, and I have a couple of enterprise customers that I'm working with, or if you have enterprise customers who you want to keep in touch with and make sure that you're on their mind and they remember you, and then you come to those conferences. So one of the folks that was there, who I met at a cocktail party, was a guy. He was a distributor, a value-added distributor for Unisys in Ireland. So he flew in from Ireland to the conference basically to be with Unisys, which is a really valuable customer of his. And so he sat there and he chatted with the Unisys folks, and he's not doing anything particular in that meeting that's trying to generate money. He's just maintaining the relationship,
right,
and saying hi again to the 5 or 10 people he deals with there and meeting a few more. So that's extremely valuable. And he wouldn't get the same capacity to do that if he flew into Unisys headquarters, in Bluebell, PA or something, because the same set of people won't be there.
Right.
So you get the marketing and the business development along with some of the technical and top management people from these big companies at these shows. And so that's where you solidify that relationship. You've landed, now you expand. So those are other values of those shows.
And I agree, those kinds of meetings would be much better at smaller shows because there's just less noise and confusion around you.
No, that's fine at a big show for that kind of thing. But you're already an insider.
Right.
Right. So the problem is the big shows, there are not that many things that you can do from a marketing standpoint at those big shows. If you're a presenter, you can have people come by and become aware of you. You might get a bunch of business cards. Everybody that walks by, they try to scan their badge, because like, oh, I got to get more scans. You get maybe 100 or 200 scans, in a day if you're lucky. And I mean, I've been at RSA and we scan. I think we got like 50 in a day. People that stayed still long enough to be able to scan them.
And so, what's your experience in how warm those leads actually are after the show? My experience is that
they're not
low.
No, they're not. They're almost cold. But
yeah.
So what happens is you end up in a conversation, right? You have that conversation. You get to like them. They get to like you. You're talking about common issues. They value your expertise. You find out that they're in this position or that position. Maybe 70 or 80% of the people walking through the floor at the RSA are people looking for jobs, right? I mean, and you see a lot of those, and and it's fine for them to do that, but that is not useful to doing effective marketing.
No, certainly not.
Right. And so again, if you're selling to small dollar value to large quantities of people, these shows will not do it, right? Because the audience is not there, and it's an ineffective way to do it. Person-to-person meetings. If you're selling to a smaller number of a larger audience, these shows are not very good because it's too busy to have that intimate conversation and spend the time to develop that relationship. If you have an existing relationship and you're seeing those folks, quite effective. And then if you're just sort of trying to understand the scope of cybersecurity and the scope of companies and so forth, I'm sure for you it was enlightening.
Very much so.
Yeah, and you also noticed a couple of your previous customers who were there as companies.
Yeah, Agari was there. We did one of their first websites.
Yeah, so companies that have now gone public that you used to work with, maybe you can rekindle a relationship, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
and for these companies that were hosted by Crunchbase, I think this was also a really good show for them because they were able to get some awareness that they would never have been able to get in almost any other way.
I think it's fine for them as an experience, as a learning experience. It's not going to generate a whole lot of sales for them, I suspect.
No, probably not. But awareness, which is, of course, as a marketer, what I'm concerned with.
Right, awareness among people looking at cybersecurity startups.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is different from most of the customers. Most of them are looking for the large enterprise customer base.
Yeah.
And for a little startup like that, that process will not help you get there.
But I love these guys' name too. Ardent, great word for a security company.
Yep. All right. There you go. Good.
So we're a half hour in, Fred. So we're reaching the end of our time. So I'm going to bring this session to a close and say goodbye to everybody, and have a good week. And we will talk to you on our next podcast next Thursday.
Well, they won't probably hear us next Thursday, but yes, we will. We will now be higher density podcasting until we compensate for our delayed podcast this Sunday. So.
Yes, indeed.
Do you think
have
we
a
do
good
better
week, everybody.
on Sundays or better in the middle of the week when we're all stressed?
Well, have a good week, everybody.